it has been a very wacky 24 hours for the lads in Wisconsin. So I guess for some context, you know, back-to-back first-round exits, 3 first-round exits in a row, actually, but back-to-back to the Pacers. And a lot of questions were on, does Giannis want out? What's going to happen? He's finally thought about potentially playing elsewhere. Then you lose Brook Lopez in free agency to the Los Angeles Clippers, leaving them without a center. And obviously they did a couple ancillary moves that we talked about last night. They got Gary Trent Jr. back. They got Taurean Prince back. And as we mentioned previously, they traded Pat Connaughton, who was going to be on the trade block after he opted in, to his player option. And then big news dropped this morning. Probably the most shocking move of free agency so far. We'll put the tweet on the screen from Shams Charania that the Bucks have signed Myles Turner to a 4-year, $107 million deal, plus a player option in 2029, a full 15% trade kicker, an absolute stunning move from the Milwaukee Bucks. However, there's more to this story because, as you all know, Giannis is on a $54 million a year supermax, and how the heck were you managing to get all of this salary, under the second apron? There had to have been some move that you would have needed to make to, essentially get yourselves under, like we saw Boston do by trading away Holiday and Porzingis, like all these other teams did. And the Bucks made probably the biggest, it's just a business decision in NBA history, that the Milwaukee Bucks are waiving Damian Lillard and stretching the remaining $113 million on his contract in order to get Myles Turner to fit in the cap sheet.
Wow.
So Damian Lillard, as we all know, tore his Achilles at the end of the Indiana Pacers series, and basically the Bucks just said, "So long, pal."
Yeah.
And he'll be making $22 million. He'll be getting a $22 million check from the Bucks every July 1st for the next 5 years. So the biggest buyout in NBA history.
Wow.
And Bradley Beal won't even top that because Dame makes more money.
Right.
So very wacky day for the Bucks organization. Gia, we'll start with you, my guy. Your thoughts on these decisions from the Milwaukee Bucks?
Yeah. So we talked about this a little bit off camera, and I said that basically I feel like Damian Lillard isn't that good anymore, isn't that productive anymore. But then you hit me with, this is the best statistical season he's had in a while, or whatever or whatever, right? But I feel like those are empty stats, like insignificant stats that don't add or contribute to wins. That's what I feel like what was going on with the Bucks and Damian Lillard. I feel like they need a player, a younger player. Dame is how old?
36, I think.
It's old. He's old.
34.
He's old, right? And look, he's 34. He just had a torn Achilles.
Yeah. At that age, it's very scary.
Yeah, that's a career ender right there.
Yeah.
So how old was Kobe when he tore his? I think around the same age.
Around the same age.
So it's like after that, it's pretty much over, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And the Bucks decided they didn't really care that much about the individual person of Damian Lillard. Rather, they cared more about the franchise, and that's what a business is supposed to do. They're supposed to do their best in terms of winning basketball games, right? Mm-hmm. And Giannis was not a fan of that.
There's conflicting reports.
Okay.
Because obviously Giannis apparently signed off on the Myles Turner thing, but there's reports saying that he's also not pleased that they cut Dame. Mm-hmm. Both can be true. Like, maybe they didn't tell him they were going to cut Dame.
I think Giannis believes that this now makes the Bucks better, but he also has empathy for Damian Lillard. He just tore his Achilles. Now he's getting waived.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he definitely has empathy for the individual person of Damian Lillard. But as a team, I think Giannis is satisfied because now I'm guessing that he feels the Bucks got better, and I think they did get better. So
I don't know. It's really hard to gauge. Did the Bucks get better? Because at the end of the day, you lost your point guard that averaged 25, 7, and 5 on near 50% shooting from the field and an all-star, and you essentially replaced him with a center that does the same thing as Brook Lopez, except he's a little bit younger. And we saw
definitely better than Brook.
And we saw in the finals, Brook Lopez played a much better NBA Finals than Myles Turner did.
Yes.
So I don't necessarily think that's necessarily making them better. And let me tell you this depth chart. You have Ryan Rollins or Kevin Porter Jr. as your starting point guard, with AJ Green or Gary Trent, whoever they want to start. Kyle Kuzma, who's been one of the worst players in the NBA. Giannis and Myles Turner. And then off the bench, I think they just traded for Vasilij Micic, if I'm not mistaken.
But he's leaving to go back to Europe.
Okay, so yeah, he's not going to be in the lineup.
Yeah.
So you have Gary Harris, who they just signed.
Yep.
You have Torian Prince and Bobby Portis, along with Jericho Sims and a couple two-way guys.
Yeah. Exactly.
Giannis back is hurting, man. Antoine, do you think the Bucks got better?
No. No.
I'm glad we agree.
Myles Turner is a very nice gift. Very nice. I like it. It's a shiny new car. But it's not a shiny new car I think the Bucks want, if I'm being honest. Bucks fans. Again, like, MT is a very interesting player. I'll say that, to say the least. We know how bad the final stunk was. We know how great of a season he had regardless. Going to Milwaukee is just like a same thing to KD. You're going to the enemy, but the enemy is in the East. And I know the Bucks and Pacers have a little hatred towards each other. Playing with Giannis, if Giannis stays, it looks great. But if Giannis leaves, it doesn't look great at all. I'm not a fan of the other signings they made. They literally ripped back the same team plus Gary Harris. But what is Gary Harris doing in this day and age?
Yeah.
Trent is back. Portis is back.
Being old for a living.
Like, the same lineup is back, just plus Myles Turner.
Who said they're done? I don't think they're done.
Well, we don't know about Giannis.
I mean, what else can they do?
They need a point guard. But
Yeah, they're going to get some points.
Their payroll stuffed to the brim.
You think Russ goes there?
No.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't.
That would be a bad move for him.
Yeah.
I really hope he doesn't.
MT, like, he could be phenomenal for Milwaukee. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think that was the right thing for them to do right now. I think Giannis should have been a priority to figure out. Maybe Giannis wanted this to prevent leaving. And I know there was reports in that Giannis is keeping an eye on what Milwaukee does in free agency before he makes that final decision for a trade.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same. It's literally the same roster plus Myles Turner. So
Pretty much.
Did you really go into free agency? You just signed the same players back. And you just threw money at Myles Turner and he just happened to accept.
Well,
Like,
obviously, yeah.
That's kind of it. Like, I know Portis is great, but was Torian Prince good? No. Was Sims? No. KPJ? Not really. Trent was great, but we know Butterfingers happened in the games. And was it Game 5? Game
Yeah.
5?
Maybe he's gambling.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. And then Gary Harris hasn't played meaningful basketball since Denver Nuggets.
No, he played on the Magic.
I know, but
He was in the. I think he started in 2024 against Cleveland,
Yeah.
okay, fair. And then
but he wasn't good.
You know-
that's the moral of the story.
I don't know. It's very. I want to see what else they do before the season ends. I mean, the off season ends. If Giannis stays, Giannis goes. But it's going to be a very interesting season for them nonetheless, because Giannis could request out before the trade deadline. Who knows, depending on how the season goes. Mm-hmm. We're going to be going back to this team a lot, 100% throughout the season.
Yeah.
The MT deal, I would give it a solid B. I wouldn't say it's a home run at all.
It's not a home run. It is. I will give it a B as well. I think, to your point, Tyler, in the previous segment where you said the NBA is being dominated by double bigs, right? And so now I think that's what they got. I think Myles Turner is in. I think he's still in the prime of his career.
Yeah.
Right. Even though he's starting to get on that little older side, I think he's still in the prime. Obviously, Giannis is Giannis. And so double bigs, I mean, this is the foundation of a championship team.
Well,
It's
all
not.
they need now, and it's no easy task. All they need now is to get some good guard play.
They're multiple moves away, and that's kind of the main problem. Even with Dame on the roster, we still didn't take them seriously. If you compare this roster to the 2021 roster, the only thing they have in common is the double bigs, because Giannis and Brook Lopez provided the spacing. Myles Turner is going to do that. Both of them didn't grab rebounds that much to begin with. They're still not going to do that.
Well, look at this.
But they still had on the roster
True.
one of the best point of attack defenders we've seen in this era in the NBA, in Drew Holiday.
Which they can get back.
They could.
They
but
could.
I don't think
Right.
Portland. I don't think Portland's trading him.
You think
And
he's going to?
I think he's going to stay because they're building that kind of defensive, gritty team out in PDX.
They can
And
also get DiVincenzo.
he was injured. He got hurt in the second playoff game in 2021.
I know. I'm saying they can pick him up now.
They can,
He
yeah.
was not a point guard. Got to trade for him.
Well,
But-
he's a piece.
But what I'm saying though is that team, you had Drew Holiday, you had the double bigs, you actually had a functioning PJ Tucker that not only was tiring guys out. He wasn't guarding them well, but he was hitting threes in the corner.
Yeah.
And he was being a good voice he was in Giannis's ear all the time,
Right.
keeping everyone in check. And Chris Middleton
Right.
was the
Yeah.
elite closer.
Right.
That is what the Bucks do not have. As incredible as Giannis is, he dropped 50 in a closeout game in the finals. Chris Middleton closed a good majority of those playoff games when they were close. The Bucks do not have that. Myles Turner is not going to do that. And I think this is going to formulate into Giannis requesting out midway through the season.
If I was Milwaukee, I didn't mention Dame. Dame did not deserve to get waived. That is literally insanity.
so? So if you're the Bucks, you
don't
don't
cut me
think-
off. Can I talk?
I'm sorry.
I'm still talking.
Finish.
I understand the business. That's
Okay.
But there are different ways to maneuver that. They could have did a contract. What's the thing? They could have did a
Restructuring.
Okay.
That's not hard.
Interesting. Okay.
But instead of keeping a roster spot for someone that could not come back maybe in a year or two, they waived them. They could have got rid of Kuzma first. Why is Dame the first one gone?
Because you just traded Chris Middleton for
I
Kyle
know,
Kuzma.
but Kuz has got to go. That frees up so
you
much
have to
money
get his
for
stock
that.
up again.
You have to understand the fact that when a GM makes a trade, you can't just give up on it after a
Yeah.
couple bad games. As
Oh.
bad as Kuzma is,
Yeah.
you have to try
Yeah.
and make something out of it. Just like they gave Dame 2.5 years. And,
But Kuz is in trade talks. I saw on Twitter,
well, obviously he's in trade talk,
and
but
his team is interested in
Pretty much
I think we're
everyone's
still
in-
tanking, so I'll take him. Seriously, I'll take him. But the good news is for you is that Dame does not feel that way. So on the screen right now, we have a quote from Mark Spears
Oh, yeah, Dame said he's
saying
happy.
he's ecstatic.
Oh, wow.
There's about double-digit number of teams calling interested in him.
Wow.
When will Dame be back? There's some speculation that he could be back this season after All-Star break.
No way.
Please do not do that, Dame, because you need the full recovery for the Achilles.
Yeah.
But right now, Dame has so many options. The Warriors reached out to him. Could you imagine a Steph, Damian Lillard
Yeah.
backcourt in Golden State with
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler on the roster? Because we don't know how much money Dame's going to get in this next contract. He could take a vet minimum for all we know.
That's what I was gonna say.
Their
And-
defense would be abysmal.
Oh, it would be terrible, but that's an option for them. He can finally get his wish and go to Miami. He could finally do it.
I don't
he can
think
go,
Miami's
He
the
can
right
go back
thing.
to Portland. Miami is interested in him. He can go. He can really go anywhere he freaking wants. He can go to Phoenix. He can go to Utah. He can go anywhere.
Sure.
The world is his oyster. All 30 teams are going to be looking for him. He can go to Boston. There's so many opportunities.
There
and
are so many.
I just hope Dame takes the time this year. Get your body right. You're in your mid to late 30s. Don't be messing around with the Achilles. Let that heal. Take the season off. Strengthen up. And whether that means you can sign tomorrow, you can sign next year. Do whatever you want. You're still making $22 million this year anyways.
I am very curious if Dame did not tear that Achilles, if MT would have signed, and then what would happen with Lillard trade, because the Achilles is a big thing. Because
Yeah.
forget the Achilles thing ever happened, MT would still be in Indiana presumably,
Well,
or
remember, if
you know.
if Tyrese Halliburton doesn't tear his Achilles, the Pacers would likely win the championship based on
That's
how he was
true.
playing.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
Myles Turner would have signed.
Right.
yeah,
And like the Pacers offered north of 20 mil. I guess the Bucks just offered more and the Pacers wouldn't match it. Or
Yeah.
Turner just wanted to leave. And this pretty much tarnished his Pacers legacy because he went from absolutely loved being the longest tenured Pacer to going to their biggest rivals, a team that
Yeah, I
they
don't know why
do
he did
not like.
I mean, it could have been a change of scenery thing for him.
Oh, that's probably what it
I
is.
think that's what it. And then let's talk about Indy. Indy's looking very different now. Next year specifically.
They're in trouble.
Wait to see what they have to do.
I saw a tweet earlier saying, like, I'm starting to get more convinced that Halliburton maybe doesn't finish his career as a Pacer. Because right now, I mean, you're in a situation where you do not have a center. You're going to wind up having to take on DeAndre Ayton or Al Horford,
That's crazy.
which is not going to get you a championship. And, at the end of the day, this could result in a domino effect. They could trade Siakam, And
Yeah,
the Pacers had collectively the worst 10 days an NBA team's ever had to face, because it would have been bad enough if you lost the championship, but I think all three of us probably would have picked them to go back to the finals next year
if they're
with a healthy Halliburton. But Halliburton tearing his Achilles completely threw the franchise's future off course. And now they're lost, and they quite frankly don't know what to do. And we need to see what they got to do, because they don't have a center. And now that is a major issue.